Here,
And
congrats on the win.
yeah, it's going to be a good card. That going to be a great
Damn
card.
right.
All right. Do we have media?
Yeah, they're filtering in slowly but surely. Dan, if you want to kick it off, go for it.
Sorry, say that again. You broke up, or I did.
Yeah, the media are coming in. If you want to kick it off, you can.
Sure. Okay, so up next is the co-main event. We're going to bring in the athletes for the Bellator Champions Series co-main event. So we've got Irish prospect Paul Hughes. Of course, lots of people have been talking about him. Very excited that he's taken a step forward in his career and that he's still fighting on home soil, at least this time around. And his opponent, tough, well-known veteran of Bellator, Bobby King. So Paul Hughes, one of the most highly anticipated prospects in Irish mixed martial arts. Set to make his Bellator debut in Dublin, which is very exciting against Bobby King. King's eager to get back in the win column while Hughes is looking to make a statement in Bellator and for Irish mixed martial arts. So, with no further ado, welcome both of you. Now, the way this is going to work, I'm going to ask a question to each of you, and then I'm going to hand it over to Gabby to field the questions from the media. So first of all, to Paul Hughes, does this feel like a step forward in your career? Does this feel like a new lease of life and a new target, something to aim for?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, this fight's going to be in the Three Arena. You know, that's one of the best venue, if not the best venue in Ireland, one of the best in the UK. So, I mean, like, it's awesome. You know, definitely a step forward.
And for Bobby King, obviously, you know, a well-known face in Bellator. You've been in some fantastic fights over the years. What's it going to be like for you to come into enemy territory and fight someone like Paul Hughes on his home soil?
Yeah, man, I'm just excited. Excited for the opportunity, excited to fight him, excited to fight in Dublin. Super excited to be there.
It's a very special venue. No matter who you are, where you're coming from, and who you're fighting, you'll be made to feel welcome. It's a very special venue, and the crowd are going to be incredible. Right, I'll hand it back over to Gabby for you to field the questions from the media.
Mike Pendleton.
Thanks, Kevin. First question for Paul. You were obviously the most coveted guy out there for any promotion to sign, but that's your decision to sign with whomever you chose, and that obviously being PFL Bellator. What was it about your meeting with them, about what they presented to you, about what they offered you the opportunities for that led you to sign with this company?
Look, there was many factors that went into the decision. You know, it wasn't purely a monetary thing, which a lot of people think it was. That's absolutely not the case. You know, I'm at the point of my career where I want activity. I want to fight and I want to prove myself now. You know, I've been saying for the last probably 12 months that I am the best in the world. And I truly believe that. I believe that I'm top five up there, regardless of promotions, 155 pounders in the world. And now I get the opportunity to prove that. You know, the PFL promised to keep me active for three more fights this year, and of course, entering the $20-25 million season. That keeps me active. You know, that's 4 fights in 8 months. That's exactly what I want right now. You know, I'm a young veteran in this game. You know, but I haven't took any damage. You know, so it's a perfect opportunity for me to be active and to prove myself as one of the best in the world. So, a lot of factors, but it was a very, very, very easy decision in the end up.
And obviously making your debut in Dublin, Three Arena. You and Dan were talking about it. I think the world knows just how special Dublin is when it comes to fight night events. Can you kind of talk about what it means to debut with the company in Dublin?
Yeah, it means a lot, you know, especially with, you know, signing with PFL, of course, they're a US based organization. The season is, of course, in the US on ESPN. So to have the opportunity before I enter that to fight at home in front of my on home soil in front of my people, it's an unbelievable opportunity, you know, and it also gives me a great chance to show the PFL what I bring to the table, the PFL and Bellator, may I say. Like I bring a crowd, you know, and I bring an atmosphere and I bring an energy to my fights. And that's why I've created the hype that I have. Of course, my performance is my skill level is world class, but I do bring a different energy to my fights. And I'm just very excited that I'm gonna have the opportunity to show that to the PFL and Bellator.
I can't wait to see you in Dublin. Bobby, one for you. I know you're excited for this opportunity, excited for this fight. What does it mean to you to have the opportunity to go into enemy territory, one of the best, fight places in the world, take on, homegrown guy, and welcome him to Bellator?
It's a great opportunity, man. I'm honored. Can't. I'm just excited to be there. To fight in 3 Arena and against one of the top prospects in the world right now. Like, I'm excited, man. Stoked to be here and just honored.
Thank you guys very much.
Marty, King's Court.
My first question's to Paul. Uh, Paul, obviously you've had such a great career already, and you're still only young and still only very early on in your career. Obviously 2017 was a hard year for yourself with those injuries. Really wanted to ask, what was that mental resolve for you to stay focused and stay committed to your dream of becoming world champion in MMA?
Look, to be honest, the only thing that got me through that was just the deep core belief. And this was before anybody kind of thought this guy can make something of himself. I had that deep core, like almost delusional belief at the time that I can make something of myself in this game and in this life. And I truly, truly, truly believed that I had the potential to be a world champion. And that is what drove me through the injury process. And you know what, it was the obstacles that I had to overcome at the time. And I came back and became a world champion. So it's been a good run so far. But as I say, a young veteran in this game, but I do feel like I'm only starting at the same time. And with signing now to the PFL and Bellator, it's a new lease of life. I've got this new energy, this new invigoration of energy throughout my training camp. I'm out in South Florida here at the minute, like putting the work in. And it's awesome. It's very, very exciting.
As I said, obviously you're dangerous everywhere. You've got KO finishes, you've got submission finishes. We've obviously mentioned about you being back in the 3 Arena in Dublin, and we know how special that is. We've seen the effect that Cedric Doumbé has had in Paris for PFL and for Bellator. Are we going to see a similar effect in the 3 Arena for Dublin in the Paul Hughes effect?
100%. That's what I'm going to bring to the table. And as I say, I'm going to prove my worth. I'm going to back up exactly what I've been saying about myself. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Nice. So my last one to yourself is that I see a Inter Miami shirt there. Are you team Messi or team Ronaldo?
Team Messi, come on, man. Got to represent the South Florida culture, while I'm here. May embrace myself into it.
All the best, Paul. And then my last question, obviously, to Bobby. Bobby, obviously, there's a lot of hype on Paul. Obviously, coming into his debut with Bellator. You've been a Bellator staple for many years now. You've got the experience. What is the motivation, and how is that going to feel for you to really to stop the party?
It's just what I do. It is what it is. We're going to go out there and fight, and then we'll figure it out.
All the best to both of you.
Andrew Benjamin.
Hey, Paul. My question is for you. I'm curious to know, do you get more nervous or do you get more excited when you're fighting in front of your hometown, family, friends, that sort of crowd?
I guess it's just a mixture of both, I would say, yeah, it's a mixture of both. I'm not one of these guys that comes out and say, oh, I don't feel pressure, I don't feel nerves. Like, I absolutely do. And I like that. I like that feeling because it drives me on. It keeps me switched on in training. It keeps me in that optimal zone of improvement where I need to be the best in the world. So there's nervousness, but there's so much excitement, especially with now. This is a new chapter of my career. Like, as I talked about, like this new lease of life that I have now. So there's a lot of excitement. With fighting at home, of course, there is added pressure, but I'm no stranger to fighting at home. I'm no stranger to big nights in MMA. And the bigger the night, the better I've performed. And that's just how it is. So I'm very, very much looking forward to it. And as I say, to back up my words, to prove, that I am the fighter that I say I am.
Gotcha. Bobby, a question for you. It's been over a year since we've seen you fight. I'm curious to know, what were you doing during that layoff period?
There's a lot happened in my life in the last year, and I've just been continue training and hanging out with family and just grounding myself.
Gotcha. I'm just curious to know, do you at all believe in cage rust, ring rust, combat rust, whatever you want to call it? Do you think that's ever a factor for any fighters after a long layoff?
Yeah, I believe so, but I've been in the situation before, and I'll perform when I have to.
Oh, for the previous times where that has where you have taken time off, what is it like to get back in the cage? Is it must do you get like a muscle memory where you just kind of like, oh, it's like, oh, you never left? Or do you have to kind of, I guess, switch just switch in your mind that you're just in this environment now, and now you gotta perform the way you gotta perform?
Yeah, once that door closes, it's back to normal. I'm just at home. You know what I mean? We've done this a long time, and we've been here before, and it is what it is.
Gotcha. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Donna Corby.
Hey, Bobby, I wanted to ask, I have to imagine the way that you're being talked about must irk you a little bit. The way that people kind of dismiss you as this guy who is there to sort of just be another name on Paul's record. That has to wind you up a little bit, no?
I actually don't even pay attention to it. I've never heard that until now. So yeah, not a big deal to me.
You don't keep up with like the talk on social media and all the hype around Paul's name?
No, not at all, man.
And for Paul, I suppose coming back, obviously you just had a big fight in Dublin on your last one. Obviously, this is the three arena. Can you talk to us a bit about the kind of the significance of that venue? You've been there, obviously for a lot of teammates and all that, but this is a very different kind of a moment for you. Can you talk to us a bit about the significance of fighting in the three arena?
Yeah, it's going to be a big moment for me. You know, the Three Arena it's so iconic, and what Bellator have done in Three Arena has also been iconic. So to have the opportunity to co-headline that is awesome. It's a nice little add-on to my career, to what I've achieved so far. And as I say, to do that at home is very, very important for me. To have my debut for the PFL and Bellator in front of my home people, it's amazing. But I would also just like to touch on what you're asking Bobby there, because I've also seen this, and I couldn't disagree with it more. I think people aren't doing their due diligence and watching Bobby's fights. I mean, the more that I've studied his game, the more I've thought, do you know what? I'm in for a fucking hard night, you know? So I'm absolutely not taking him lightly in the slightest, as I never do that. But I just wanted to touch on that because you brought it up there, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Of course, and I would concur with that. That I think people have kind of taken this fight a little bit lightly. I wanted to ask as well, maybe Paul and maybe Dan as well. Have you made up with Ray Sefo after what happened ahead of the announcement?
We're cool. We're cool. I don't know about that. Dan, I'm sure is cool as well. I don't know if he's still on the call.
I'm always good friends with Ray Sefo, but we like to disagree and debate things out at full volume. If people saw us debating in public, they would think we were arguing. But no, he's like he's an elder statesman in the sport, in combat sports, and every single person's got huge respect for Ray Sefo.
You forgiven him for leaking the news?
Look, he was excited like the rest of us. You know what I mean? Like this is it's an exciting move for PFL and Bellator to bring Paul Hughes on board. You know, and this is really where we get to see where his level's at. You know, he's on home soil. There's a lot of pressure. This arena holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts, especially in Irish mixed martial arts, because of how many great nights there have been there. So, like, I know the pressure's on Paul Hughes' shoulders, especially, you know, to kind of validate his decision to come over to PFL and Bellator. And, you know, in Bobby King, he's got a very tough individual that can fight in any single range of the fight, you know, and there's no pressure. Like, I always like to be the person going into enemy territory because, like, my back's against the wall, and that's when I'm my most dangerous. And when you've got someone that's got the experience and the, you know, the game that Bobby's got, it just makes for a really, really interesting fight and a real level test for where Paul Hughes is at right now in a high pressure situation.
Thanks, guys.
Harry Davies. All right, pinging it to JL Curvin.
Thanks, Gabby. First question is for Paul. You had mentioned earlier that you feel like you're a young vet because obviously you've, experienced high levels in your career, but you have so much more to do. Going into this next phase of your career with the PFL, Bellator, what are some of the goals that you have, and what are some of the things you want to see yourself accomplish over the next few years?
I think it's pretty simple. 3 more fights, 3 more wins this year, enter the $20-25 million tournament, have the perfect season, finish everybody I fight, win $1 million, repeat that again. That's what I foresee.
Nice. And then for Bobby, going into this fight, looking at your record, you've won fights in numerous ways, arm bars, TKOs. For a guy like Paul, when you go approach this fight, is it more so skill set versus skill set, or do you feel like you're sort of concocting a game plan to take out somebody as talented as him?
I mean, there's always a game plan, but you can never plan ahead, right? So it is what it is. We'll just go out there, we fight, and we'll figure it out, unsolve the puzzle. He's a tough
Great.
dude, talented, and we're just gonna go figure it out as we fight.
Great. That's all I had. Appreciate it.
Carlito, fight talk.
Yes, Carlito Fight Talk here. Thank y'all for having me again. And my first question is for Paul. And I see that proper 12 right behind you. How often do you usually take in the beverage with that?
I was actually, the video that came out with Conor McGregor last week, I was actually with him partying.
Oh, no kidding.
Joking. Of course. I'm actually in Hillcliff in South Florida here, and Proper 12 is one of the sponsors of the gym. So we've just set up this area, and it just so happened to be behind me. But yeah, absolutely no indulging in any of that, professional.
Exactly, exactly. But if you had to and you're off of training camp, would you pick Jameson or Proper 12?
Would have to be Proper 12, of course.
Excellent, excellent. So talk about training camp, break it down for us.
Look, as I said, I'm out here in South Florida, Killcliff FC, one of the most renowned gyms in the world, mixing it up with the absolute best on the planet every single day, and honestly, just getting pushed to the limits. It's exactly what I need. I train, of course, in Belfast in Northern Ireland. That's where my home team is, Fight Academy. But I do like to come out and switch my training up here with as I say, some of the best bodies in the planet and some of the best coaches in the planet. So I'm really getting the best of both worlds right now. I'm in that optimal zone of training to be the best on the planet, and I'm giving everything to this game. So camp's going well. It's 3 weeks away. I just honestly, the excitement's starting to kick in at this point. To get in there in the 3 arena, make my debut, like blow the roof off the place, and to show my skills. It's very exciting.
Thanks. I think you pretty much answered my last question. I was going to ask you, what can we all expect in Dublin, June 22nd? I appreciate you, bro. And for you, Bobby, break down training camp and how are you feeling about your preparation?
Yeah, man, I'm so super excited as well. I'm like train out here in Utah half the week, and then I train out in Colorado as well with Dwayne Ludwig and the rest of the team out there. So I'll be prepared and excited to fight in the 3 arena.
Facts. And to fighting, making it from Utah to Dublin, what can we all expect under the lights?
You can expect a hard technical fight.
Man, I look forward to seeing it, and thank y'all for sure.
Harry Davies.
Hey Bobby, I was going to ask about training in Utah and Colorado, 2 places with notoriously high elevation. Do you find that when you come to places like Dublin where it's at sea level, you find a real big difference in the training room versus the fight nights?
Oh yeah, huge difference for sure, man. I'm originally from Hawaii, so anytime I go home and I train out there, I can run for days, train for days, like nothing. So yeah, definitely feel the difference.
Going back to those Hawaii fights, looking at your record, you're on the regional circuit there way back in the 2008 times, and now we're 15 years on and you're still doing it. Do you set a timeline of when you want to stop fighting, or is it really just dependent on how your body feels?
Yeah, just depending on how my body feels. Every year so far, I've always said I got 2 more years in me, and I'm still at that same mindset. So,
And just one for you, Paul. You mentioned there the difference between Fight Academy in Kilcliff, how you switch between the two. What are the main differences you find from when you go home to when you go over to South Florida, other than the heat, I'm guessing?
The heat's definitely a big factor. It's nice to get out in the sun every day. But you know, the main difference is here in Kilcliff, we've got every single look that you could possibly need. You know, if I'm fighting a southpaw wrestler, I've got that. If I'm fighting a guy from Dagestan that just wrestles, I've got that. If I'm fighting an elite kickboxer, I've got that. You know, so I have a lot more training bodies here in Kilcliff. At home, I have a little bit less bodies, but the quality is also amazing. And I've got, of course, my team there that have been with me for a long, long time. So when you've got a team that knows you inside out for a long time, these small percentile differences are very, very important when it comes to this high level. So I've really got the best of both worlds.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Last question, pinging it to Dan Hardy.
Thank you very much, Gabby. So I've just got one question for each of you, and then we'll get this wrapped up. Thank you both very much for your time. First of all, so to Bobby, talk to me a bit about your journey in mixed martial arts. You said you've been training with Dwayne Ludwig, who's obviously a standout coach. Talk to me about a few of the other people around you, like inspiring coaches, people that have added a lot to your game over the years.
Yeah, like I said, I trained with Sensei Dwayne Ludwig out in Colorado, and along with them is like Juan Archuleta, TG Dillashaw, Trevor Peak, who's right now out there training as well, and a bunch of the local guys that fight out of Elevation. And so yeah, man, they've been putting me through the ringer, and I'm excited for the fight.
Nice. And to Paul, just talk to me about this next step in your career. Does it feel like a step? Does it feel in any way more daunting than any other fight of your career so far? Given the fact that it feels to me like there's more pressure layered on this for you.
Yeah, there absolutely is more pressure. You know, with obviously everything being new, it's very different. The 3 Arena being added into that, and then also on top of that being the co-main event on such a prestigious promotion with such a long history of doing cards in Dublin, you know, so it's absolutely added pressure, and it feels like a step up for sure. I know I have had big nights in my career, but this is the next chapter, and this next chapter is going to be the biggest one yet. So it's very exciting times.
Well, thank you so much to both of you. That concludes today's Bellator Champions Series Global Media Call. Thank you again for everybody that attended and joined us today. Tickets for the Bellator Champions Series event in Dublin on June 22nd are available on Ticketmaster. The card will be streamed live on Max in the US, DAZN in the UK, and Virgin Media Television in the Republic of Ireland. This is going to be a really, really special event. Main and co-main, both really exciting fights. Best of luck to both of you in the rest of your training camp and in your travels to Dublin. Thank you to everybody on the call, and we will see you very soon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Oos.